John in London, good morning, and it's December the 2nd, 2008. All my videos at the moment about recovery from addiction to substance and behaviour. And addiction's a heavy word. It means that we do something which we cannot stop doing, and it can be harmless or harmful depending on what it is. Going swimming every day in a compulsive way for maybe an hour or so, or half an hour, is not exactly seen as an addiction. On the other hand, if we need to drink 24/7, or we have a drinking problem which we cannot get out of, that is an addiction, and that was my addiction. So I'm in recovery, just one day at a time. And we have in the Fellowship of AA, which I'm part of, that's the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous, we have all sorts of literature and action steps to do and traditions which keep us safe. And one of the words that we often come across is this word called serenity. And it's part of the philosophy, if you like. On a daily basis we can find a little bit of serenity somewhere. And what is it? What is serenity? And I guess really for me it is acceptance of the things I cannot change, and having the courage to change the things I can, and learning the wisdom to know the difference. And it comes down to that serenity prayer that is often said at the end of every meeting. There are other prayers that are said as well. And do I have to believe in God to find serenity? The answer is, I find serenity in the moment of now, where I feel less fearful. I can cope with what's going on around me and maybe make some sense of it. But if I wander too far into the future and start speculating about what might happen and the what if of life, I can get very concerned. And I've just been to the hospital for a diabetic blood sugar checkup, and I'm making progress. I'm certainly not perfect. So I got way off balance in terms of my blood sugar testing and relied on my natural state of being, so my eyesight, my feeling, my general mood, and I was a couple of percent off to the high side. And so gradually, over the last 2 or 3 weeks, I've been getting back into the regime of trying to keep things on an even keel. And I guess really that's the same for whatever we encounter on a daily basis, and try and manage our choices as best we can, based on the best information we have. And a couple of questions about what do we do when we're in a place of anger, frustration and rage. And there is no simple answer except to know that we are experiencing, to whatever degree, some feelings which are making us feel very agitated and anxious. And anxiety brings on more anger, frustration and rage, because we tell ourselves we ought not to feel this way. And the real answer is we ought to feel this way when we are upset. So why do we have this repertoire of emotions, from the joys to the sadness to the love to the hate of life? And that is because the more we understand and experience our feelings in the moment, the more we are able to cope with what is happening to us. So every time we try to push our feelings away by putting on a brave face and feeling fearful, fear breeds more fear, the more we actually go digging into it, and it can make us extraordinarily depressed and anxious, and sometimes in a place of desolation that we know no way out. And I've faced that on numerous occasions, far too many times in my lifetime, and I didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't know how to deal with all these feelings that were going on inside me, except to suppress them. And the best form of suppression for me was simply using alcohol. And these days I use coffee to keep me awake sometimes, when I'm exhausted by doing too much. And for me, with my current state of health, I can get depressed just because my chemistry set gets out of balance. And the chemistry set, clinical depression means my chemical imbalances caused by the endocrine system not working maybe as it could do, means that I'm susceptible to clinical depression. In fact, I live with it. And the gift, if you like, is to do all I can from a human point of view to understand what is going on in my emotions and what is causing them. And the consequence of that is learning and understanding what my feelings are on a daily basis and why. Then I keep them right-sized in the day. But if we've suppressed our feelings for 30 years like I did, where I thought I loved people and didn't know how to love, thought I knew this feeling and it felt like something else, always with fear behind it. And fear is a real feeling, and that agitation which comes with it was always quelled by alcohol, and going on regardless, putting on that brave face and, you know, going into battle a day at a time at work or in relationships, and not quite knowing myself, in fact not being myself. So when rage comes calling these days, and it can, I can be caught out in the moment of trying to do something and feeling like I must be able to do this, and suddenly finding that I am completely, powerless. And that often comes with physicality, and, you know, walking too far can do me no end of harm, because it means I'm laid up and cannot walk at all. So I get around on a bicycle. And I guess really what I'm saying is we find serenity in what we have to go with, as does anybody who's had some sort of disability. And I reckon the biggest disability that most people have is not acknowledging their feelings and what to do with them, or what is happening in the moment, and being able to share it confidently rather than fear it, and fear being found out as inadequate in some way. So where am I today? I mean, I could feel very sad about my situation. I've got three conditions to deal with on a daily basis, and type 1 diabetes, clinical depression, and recovery. However, the third item on that list, recovery, has kept me going one day only, and I've learned how to understand what is spiritual and what is serenity. So what is spiritual for me is seeing the reality of now. No filters, no denials, or maybe just less filters and denials. And what is serenity? Serenity is acceptance of those things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And on a bad day, it still feels really bad, but on a good day, it's exceptionally good. So I don't want to push my feelings away anymore, and the way to do that is to find some courage, faith and confidence to face each day and what it may bring. And I hate bills coming through the door right now, because I know the utility bills are up 30%, and I haven't got 30% extra to pay them. So there is give and take in my living, if you like. More porridge and less meat, maybe, which is probably good for me. So I make a joke of it, but you know, the absolute truth is that life is hard and life is difficult. And M. Scott Peck said, or was said about M. Scott Peck, the gin-sodden, chain-smoking philanderer, said he is neither saint nor prophet, and he said life is difficult, and we do as we may as we go along. So why pick serenity, and why pick the outrage that we can feel? Well, my outrage in all my life was not being good enough in my own eyes, because I felt that I was always on judgment by others, and judging myself as harshly as I could possibly do, so nobody could judge me harder. So I always put myself down first before other people. And these days I try not to do that. I'm trying to be balanced and level-headed, and make sure it's okay for me to feel these emotions I have, whether they're good or bad, and then deal with them. And the best way is to include others, so I can get some sort of barometer of what is going on in my own head. How important is it? How essential is it? Is it something I cannot change, or is it something I can have the courage to change? And then learning the wisdom. It's like every day is a new day, and the only way it works really is if we really do understand that we are always learners in life, and we can start learning at any time. And for me to start learning how to be a sober human being at half a century is a real gift, because what went before is all wisdom which I can utilise today. I don't need to be as afraid as I used to be. I can still be very fearful, especially on the roads riding a bicycle, but it doesn't stop me. It doesn't stop me from doing things. It doesn't hinder me completely. It just tells me to take good care. Daily reflections for today. I think I've run out of time to cope or do those at the moment, but maybe I'll just do them in a short video after this. How am I today? Right, it's great that I've had a check-up and I'm making progress and not perfect. My family is okay, and friends I know are okay as well. So, more later.